So today I'm doing something a bit unusual in the sense that I'm doing a game review. But when a game like Firewatch comes along, you can't help but talk about it because it is a masterpiece. It is brilliant and it is perfect in every way. There's nothing I would change about this game because it tugged at my heartstrings. Every moment playing it was a joy and an emotional roller coaster. This is one that I want to recommend to the people watching, even if you've never played a video game in your life, because on a storytelling level, this competes with the best indie movies out there. And that's why we're talking about Firewatch today. Welcome to Indiecent. My name is Vincent and I'm here to take a look at some indie films and I guess games, both old and new, to help you find what could be your next favorite movie or game. If you have a heart for passion projects or low budget masterpieces, please consider subscribing to my channel on our quest to find the ultimate independent production. But without wasting any more time, let's dive right into my personal thoughts and feelings on Firewatch. Firewatch is a first-person mystery set in the Wyoming wilderness where your only emotional lifeline is the person on the other end of a handheld radio. You are a man named Henry who has retreated from your messy life to work as a fire lookout in the Wyoming wilderness. Your supervisor, a woman named Delilah, is available to you at all times over a small handheld radio and is your only contact with the world you've left behind. But when something strange draws you out of your lookout tower and into the world below, you'll explore a wild and unknown environment, facing questions and making interpersonal choices that can build or destroy the only meaningful relationship you have. So for the new viewers watching today, usually we break my reviews into two pieces, non-spoiler talk and spoiler talk, which will be indicated by a graphic in one of these corners, and it will change once we go into spoiler talk, so don't worry about having anything spoiled, as that will indicate the status of our spoiler talk to you. So, my initial thoughts on Firewatch. Now, naturally, I didn't think I would be doing any sort of game reviews on this channel, but I couldn't help but do so. And that's because the story of Firewatch is a brilliant one, and it is one that intrigued me so much. Now, it is not a long game. It takes about 4 to 5 hours to complete, and it is perfect in the compact state that it is, because it tells a beautifully complete story, and it almost feels like it has a clear act 1, 2, and 3, and you have a beautiful emotional roller coaster on that journey. And it definitely puts story front and center because the voice acting, the sound design, the graphics, even the gameplay complements the storytelling, complements the journey they take you on. And most of the game is dialogue between Henry and Delilah, and the dialogue is excellently written and even better acted, and a brilliant performance is given with Henry and Delilah, and that in itself makes this game worth playing. But the cool thing is, as we said, the whole time you're communicating Delilah as you go on your journey doing your stuff via a walkie-talkie. There are no cutscenes, you're never locked into place, you're constantly doing stuff, and they really execute how it feels to do your Firewatch duties really well. From checking power lines to chasing away forest dwellers who are breaking the law, it really has a great gameplay feel to it, and it's super interactive. But as you do these things, you will be constantly communicating in a very beautiful, cute, quirky conversations with Delilah, making comments, choosing your dialogue options, and you get to learn more about Henry and more about Delilah as it continues. And even if the game was just that, I would be happy. But then there's this whole extra layer to the game, which is a mystery that is dying to be unraveled. And as you play this game, this whole conspiracy mystery unravels, and it is beautifully written. And it is that mystery and those conversations and beautiful dialogue that gives it such an indie feeling and almost makes it feel like a novel, like a brilliantly written novel. And that's why I love this game so much and enjoyed playing it so much, is because of how beautifully it executes telling its story. And I mean, it was made by a small dev team, and they really put so much love and care into how they made it. It has almost a cartoony art style to it, which is genuinely beautiful, with some amazing vistas and amazing plant life, and it's just a beautiful game on every level. And once again, I really motivate you to try playing this game, even if you've never played a game before, because it's easy to play, and it's not about the challenge of the game, but the journey it takes you on. And if you have the time, I genuinely recommend taking a weekend to play this if you have the time. I split the game up into 2 days and finished it on my second day, and it was just brilliant. It always left me wanting more, and to the point where when the game ends, I was just so happy and satisfied. And the last thing that I'll say before we move on to spoiler talk is just a quick thing. Earlier in the game, you pick up a Polaroid camera and it only has 18 pictures left to be taken. And the thing is, I thought this would come into a quest that would happen along the road, but this camera is literally only there for an Easter egg later in the game without spoiling anything. So use those precious 18 photos to take the best photos you can. Enjoy the camera. They've given you this gift to be creative with. So use it, because I didn't, and I deeply regret it, seeing what it could have led to. A very beautiful tying in and making it more personal. Before we move on to spoiler talk, I'd just like to please ask you that if you have a love for indie projects and supporting the little developers, the small indie filmmakers, subscribe to my channel, because I'm trying to support them and shed light on the beautiful projects they've created to the best of my ability, and subscribing to me helps me help them. So I appreciate it. But now let's talk about spoiler talk. And the first thing I want to say, and this I could have said this in the non-spoiler, but I didn't even want to pre-blow anyone's mind, as Sheldon Cooper would say. The beginning of this game, the very first moment you spend with this game, literally brought me to tears. The game begins with a text-based intro. Amazing sound design, some of the best sound design I've heard in a game, that takes you on a journey to get you to where Henry is at that point in the beginning of the game. So it's kind of a prologue to introduce the character to you, and it is beautifully executed. And the way that they introduce you to Julia, his wife, who struggles with dementia, and take you on that journey of how he got broken down in his life, it was such a beautiful moment to me, and it really hit my heart. It really tugged at my heartstrings, and even thinking about it makes me form a knot in my throat, or whatever the saying is. Like, being able to really embody Henry throughout this whole game, and being able to put yourself in his shoes and interact with Delilah and talk about Julia in the way that you feel he would, is one of the reasons I love this game so much, because it really makes you feel like you embody this character. Then another thing I'd like to touch on is, I know a lot of people might be bothered with how it ends. A lot of people might find the ending, finding out that Ned Goodwin was behind everything, kind of anticlimactic, but I loved it, because essentially what the story is trying to say to you is, where we find ourselves is often based on how our minds perceive it. And it was Henry's past, because a lot of the game I thought, oh, okay, the twist is going to be Henry has dementia or something like that. But that's not what the story was about. It was about human relationship. And even in the ending, revealing Ned to be behind everything, trying to cover up the murder or accident of his son Brian dying, it was just a tale of humanity, and it was so excellently executed. And it poses the question to us to ask what people's motives are behind what they say and what they do, and to understand there are layers to everyone. There are things we don't understand about people that are worth exploring. And those themes of this game is what makes it so good and makes it compete with any indie movie. The story is on the level of any movie you could point to, in my opinion. It is just such an amazing journey that I would even experience again, because it's such a slice of life that's just beautiful and just so heartwarming and bittersweet and human. And I think that's what makes art, is what humanity does it awaken in you, and what does it make you discover about yourself. Bit of a different one this week, but it's a worthy contender, and I don't have as much to say, because I feel like it's such a personal experience that might be so different to everyone. I really hope that this game gets the exposure it deserves, because it absolutely deserves it after all the effort the devs have put in to make it such a beautifully unique experience. But that's me, Vincent, from Indiecent for now, and hopefully in the future we would discover game gems like this, or gems in any other form. Maybe we come upon an indie musician that's just so breathtaking that it needs to be talked about. I can already think of a few right now, but we'll see what the future holds. But for now, turn your attention to Firewatch and appreciate it to its fullest, and just absorb everything it has to offer, because I promise you, you won't regret it.